Simone, thank you for joining us. Simone is the director of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime here in New York, and you have the floor. Thanks.
Thank you, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and my apologies for being so late. There's no excuse for it, but I've done my best to run over here to make it because this report has really been so important to keeping the momentum on the adoption of Sustainable Development Goals and how we measure their progress. And we have worked closely with the Institute for Economics and Peace, and we are grateful that they have invited us here today. UNODC works to promote the rule of law, justice, and security, both as critical enablers of development and as development ends in themselves. Our research and technical assistance provides insight into the role of organized crime and illicit trafficking in people, in wildlife, in drugs, and arms as stressors to peace and development. And measuring the achievement of Goal 16 of the Sustainable Development Goals is critical to reducing violence, particularly against women and girls, ensuring accountability, and addressing challenges such as transnational organized crime, trafficking in persons, in illicit drugs, in illicit financial flows that flourish in the absence of effective justice systems and law enforcement. Data and statistics will be critical in providing a global assessment and how member states are doing in terms of achieving the SDGs, and in particular, identifying challenges and areas for improvement. Work like the Global Peace Index, for instance, is one of many important pieces of the puzzle. And when we think about today, and we're mentioning Goal 16, I think we also have to look at Goal 17. And I think the Global Peace Index is really a huge contribution to Goal 17, which encourages us to have global partnerships in implementing, measuring, and monitoring all of the SDGs, including Goal 16. Of course, UNODC's mandate is not just to deliver or help build capacity to deliver and monitor on Goal 16 and many of the targets therein, but also on some other goals. But I'll focus mainly on some of the targets and indicators in Goal 16, particularly because the index has discussed them already and discussed some of UNODC's work in us being able to accurately monitor progress with regard to those targets and indicators. As you know, UNODC has decades of experience in global data collection through our long-standing partnerships with national governments and statistic agencies. Our institutional data collection system, based on our research publications like our reports on drugs and crime, as well as our numerous victimization surveys and tools. These are all available online if you go to www.unodc.org. Based on these data, we have been able to produce methodologically rigorous publications and studies that provide a global assessment of trends and challenges. We at UNODC look forward to supporting member states in their implementation of the SDGs, particularly 16, and helping to collect the necessary data and information that will better inform the important follow-up. We were pleased to see in the index mentioning of UNODC's work in relation to 16.1.1 on the number of victims of intentional homicide per 100,000 population by sex and age. The Global Index report notes that countries report their homicide statistics to UNODC, which then makes the data available in one data set. UNODC shows data disaggregated on sex for all but 4 out of the 193 UN member states. Fewer countries have disaggregation for age groups, and some have difficulties with keeping up with their records on the timeliness of their reporting, but we do have that as an important contribution, and we're grateful for the index recognizing that. As to 16.2.1, and I won't go through many, I'll just give a couple of examples. And 16.2.1 looks at monitoring the percentage of children aged 1 to 17 who experienced any physical punishment and or psychological aggression by caregivers in the past month. And so great to have Rima Sala here next to us here today, who's been such a champion in so many capacities in the UN and a visionary on this. But as she knows, the Global Peace Index report notes that UNICEF has figures for violent discipline of children aged 2 to 14 as an attempt to verify the data. The Global Peace Index report makes a very good suggestion that those statistics could be compared to the reports of total sexual offenses against children by UNODC. This is a measure of the number of police-reported offenses at the national level. So I like how the report looks at data that UNICEF has and data that UNODC has, and says how can we look at them in combination to better understand the scope of these things. 16.2.2 talks about the number of victims of human trafficking per 100,000 population by sex, age group, and form of exploitation. 16.2.2, or goal 16, is the only goal that has an indicator to actually monitor and understand what the amount of human trafficking is by age, by sex, by form of exploitation. We do have in goal 8.7 a mandate from the Statistical Commission to also look at forced labor of children and to monitor that. And in 5.2, we do have a goal on sex trafficking of women and girls, but we only have an indicator on 16.2.2. And as the UN now moves towards implementing the global plan of action to combat human trafficking and the appraisal of that report by the global plan of action by the General Assembly in October 2017, I think that this information will be particularly useful to both the General Assembly and looking at the appraisal of the global plan of action and understanding it, and also the Security Council, which is reviewing this as well, the issue of human trafficking. Then there's the issue mentioned in the report of unsentenced detainees as a percentage of overall prison population, and I won't go into those figures, but that's in 16.3.2, and the Global Peace Index talks about UNODC's work there. We will continue to work closely with all partners here, my brother and sister UN agencies, and civil society to make sure that our statistics are user-friendly, readable, and reliable. The first World Wildlife Crime Report of 2016, which we launched in New York on Monday, provides crucial data analysis and evidence for the need for moving toward SDG 2013 agenda. And although wildlife crime is essentially in Goal 15, it is a form of transnational organized crime that is in Goal 16 as well. And so we do have now, because the General Assembly requested it, a World Wildlife Crime Report that measures all that information. Thank you, a leader in the audience who has a copy of it from Monday. We also have a global report on trafficking in persons that the General Assembly has mandated us to provide every 2 years. The next one will come out in October. That looks at the issues and the trends and has very good data on human trafficking, so we'll have that coming out again in October. And we have the global study on homicide, which the Global Peace Index has measured as well. There are other databases we have with regard to prisons, with regard to children, with regard to trafficking, smuggling of migrants. I know many of you have been talking about the Migration Summit because my good senior advisor, Yuping Chan here, has been texting me what's been going on while I'm dealing with this small crisis. And I will say that one good thing that we have been able to discuss with member states and that we will publish for the first time is a report on smuggling of migrants, patterns, and trends. Another area that we will be producing a global study on will be trafficking in cultural property, including a global seizure database. These are just a few examples. Apologies for speaking very, very quickly in New York Minute, but I will just end it this way by saying we look forward to working more closely with all stakeholders in enforcing our message that sustainable development cannot be achieved without well-functioning criminal justice systems and respect for fundamental human rights. Thank you all for your interest in everything that you're doing in partnership with us to try to make something of this 2013 agenda so that it's more than just a document.
Thanks so much, Simone, and pointing to particularly the 2 points of the importance of data, treasure of what you measure, but also pointing out that there are many aspects in the 2030 agenda that relate to conflict and violence. It's not just Goal 16. And of course, it is an integrated and universal agenda. And I think that the UN Foundation actually did a research that 38 targets among the 169 have some relationship with violence or conflict. So it is really throughout the agenda, and we need to make sure that that is recognized, as the Global Peace Index does very clearly in the report. I appreciated that.